Okay, so get this. We've got some excerpts from the CNN article, and it's all about the Equal Rights Amendment.
Yeah.
It's been this, 50-year fight, right, to get it ratified.
Uh-huh.
And President Biden is saying it's officially, part of the Constitution.
Right.
So this deep dive, I think it's going to be pretty explosive.
I think so.
We're talking about a potential earthquake, right, in the legal landscape, especially when it comes to issues like reproductive rights.
Big stuff.
Yeah.
Huge.
So let's just jump right into, the heart of this whole constitutional drama, right?
Right.
Biden's statement is making waves because he's just flat out, declaring the ERA ratified.
Mm-hmm.
And he's connecting it to the fight for reproductive rights, saying that it guarantees equal rights for everyone, regardless of sex.
It's a bold move.
Yeah.
Especially considering how intricate the process of, amending the Constitution is.
Right.
It's not just a simple majority vote.
Right.
To get something like that done, you need 3/4 of all states to ratify an amendment before it becomes law.
Right.
And the ERA, even though it was passed by Congress way back in 1972,
Wow.
it only recently appeared to hit that magic number when Virginia became the 38th state to ratify it in 2020.
Wait, 1972 to 2020?
Right.
That's almost half a century.
It is.
What was going on during all that time?
Well, that time gap is kind of like the crux of this whole legal battle,
Right.
The ERA had these original ratification deadlines that weren't met.
Uh-huh.
And then, on top of that, 5 states that initially said yes to the amendment, they later tried to take it back.
Wow.
The Brennan Center for Justice, they've been tracking this whole saga, and some of the arguments are based on the idea that the ERA is, just not relevant to modern society.
Yeah, it's so outdated.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're dealing with a legal labyrinth here,
Yeah.
and Biden's kind of doubling down on this, calling the ERA the law of the land.
Yes.
Right. I mean, the article even mentions that he's leaning on the American Bar Association's opinion that there's no actual, time limit for ratification.
Mm-hmm.
That seems pretty airtight, right?
Well, it's not that simple.
Oh.
The article also brings up the role of the U.S. archivist, right?
Right.
The person responsible for, officially certifying and publishing amendments.
Mm-hmm.
And the current archivist is pretty adamant that the ERA cannot be certified.
Wow.
Because of, legal and procedural rulings that already exist. And they're pointing to the Department of Justice's stance that those ratification deadlines, they're actually legally binding.
Okay.
And the DOJ's reasoning for that is actually kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
They argue that those deadlines are meant to ensure that ratification reflects the will of the people at a particular time.
Wow. That's a pretty strong counterpoint.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how this could become this major legal showdown. Didn't the article say something about a back and forth between the White House and the National Archives?
Exactly. Both sides are issuing contradictory statements,
Yeah.
and leaving everyone wondering who has the final say.
Right.
And the article even acknowledges that this is almost definitely going to end up in the courts.
Oh, wow.
And it's likely to be a long and contentious battle.
This is getting intense.
Right.
It feels like the stakes are incredibly high here.
The article mentions Senator Gillibrand's been pushing really hard for the ERA's certification.
Right.
Is there more to her argument than just the procedural technicality?
You're picking up on something crucial there.
Okay.
Gillibrand is arguing that a certified ERA could be a game changer for women's rights,
Oh, wow.
particularly in light of what happened with Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
She believes that enshrining these equal rights protections in the Constitution, it could actually bolster legal arguments in a post-Roe world. So for you listening, let's pause for a second and consider this. Okay.
Right.
Could the ERA actually be a powerful legal tool in the fight for reproductive rights?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about potential consequences that reach far beyond this one amendment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I mean, it really makes you think, what exactly would that impact look like?
Yeah.
Legally speaking, what specific rights would be strengthened if the ERA was officially part of the Constitution?
Well, the ERA itself, the wording is pretty broad,
Okay.
It says, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex.
Okay.
So it's not just about specific issues like reproductive rights or whatever.
Right.
It's about establishing this fundamental principle of equality, right, in the eyes of the law.
So theoretically, this could impact like legal interpretations across a wide range of areas,
I
right?
agree.
Not just the obvious ones.
Yeah, think about, employment law,
Right.
family law, even things like military service.
Wow.
Suddenly, like, legal arguments about discrimination based on sex would have a much stronger foundation.
That's a pretty powerful idea.
Yeah.
But the article also mentions that some of Biden's other actions, like certain environmental protections or immigration policies, those could be easily reversed. So how does the ERA compare to those actions?
That's a key distinction.
Yeah.
Executive actions, those can be undone by the next administration pretty easily.
Right.
But a constitutional amendment,
Yeah.
it's much, much harder to overturn.
Right.
If the ERA is recognized as legitimately ratified, it would become a permanent part of the Constitution. We'd take another constitutional amendment to change it.
So we're not just talking about a shift in policy, right?
Right.
We're talking about a potential shift in the very fabric of American law.
Precisely. And that's why this fight over the ERA, it's so significant. It goes beyond partisan politics.
Right.
It's about the fundamental principles that shape our society.
And the article does point out that despite all this divisiveness surrounding the ERA, there was actually bipartisan agreement on other issues during Biden's final days.
Yes, like blocking the sale of U.S. steel and the Israel-Hamas ceasefire.
Right.
It's a reminder that even in this highly polarized environment, there can be moments of consensus.
Right.
But the ERA seems to tap into something much deeper.
Yeah.
Something that divides people along fundamental lines.
It's almost as if the ERA actually right? Looking back at this societal anxieties about gender roles, power dynamics, and what equality truly is.
The CNN article, it does a great job of
Right.
that sense that we're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
Biden's push for the ERA, it's more than just a legal maneuver.
Right.
It's a statement about the kind of society we must be becoming.
And it forces us to confront some pretty uncomfortable questions, right? Like if the ERA is ratified, are we truly prepared to live up to its ideals? What changes will we need to make as a society?
Those are questions we all need to be asking ourselves. The ERA isn't a magic solution. It's a framework,
Right.
for a more just and equitable society. But it's up to us to build that society.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that these legal battles aren't just these abstract concepts, right? They have real world consequences for people's lives.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the central question that the article poses, right?
Right.
What happens if the ERA is ultimately recognized as a valid part of the Constitution?
Yeah.
How might it reshape legal arguments and interpretations of equality? Not just in the areas we've already discussed, but in areas we haven't even considered yet.
It's almost like opening a Pandora's box of legal possibilities, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can speculate about the impact on reproductive rights or employment law, but what about other unforeseen consequences?
That's what makes this so fascinating, right?
Yeah.
The ERA has the potential to be this catalyst for a much broader conversation about equality in all its dimensions.
Right.
You could challenge existing legal precedents and force us to re-examine our assumptions about gender roles and societal structures.
So to recap what we've gleaned from this CNN article, right?
Uh-huh.
The ERA's journey has been a long and winding one.
It has.
We've seen deadlines come and go. We've seen legal challenges arise.
Wow.
and even states attempting to retract their approval.
Oh, yeah.
And now we have this unprecedented situation with President Biden declaring it ratified, while the archivist insists that it cannot be certified.
Yeah, it's a really unique situation.
Yeah.
And all of this is unfolding against the backdrop of this fiercely contested debate about reproductive rights, gender equality, and the very meaning of equal protection under the law.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
But I think this deep dive has shed light on some crucial aspects of this complex issue.
I agree. And perhaps the most important takeaway is that the ERA is not just a relic of the past.
Right.
It's a living, breathing legal concept with the potential to shape our future in ways we can only begin to imagine.
It reminds us that the quest for equality is this ongoing process.
Yeah.
It's a journey that demands constant vigilance and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
Well said. And as we navigate this kind of uncharted territory,
Yeah.
it's crucial to engage in thoughtful, informed discussions about the ERA's implications, both the intended and the unforeseen.
So, to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to continue exploring this topic and forming your own conclusions. The pursuit of a more just and equitable society, it requires the active participation of us all.
It's been a pleasure delving into these complex issues with you. Remember, the journey of discovery never truly ends.
Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep diving deep.